Well, let's just begin with just a short prayer, if that's okay. Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this time. We thank you, Lord, that you've given us the Bible. And Lord, we thank you that you revealed prophecies to us. Be with us, Lord. Open our hearts, our minds, and our eyes tonight. We pray in the name of Jesus. Amen. Now, yesterday, can everyone remember, what did we look at yesterday? When the face of the earth changed. We looked at, what chapter in the book of Daniel did we look at? 2. It's on the screen. And we said that that is the master key to unlock the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. It's like the template, if I can put it that way. And everything around Daniel Revelation builds around this Daniel 2. And there we saw we had the head. What was the head of gold? Babylon. What was the silver? Persia. What was the brass? Greece. What was the legs of iron? And what was the feet? Church and state. And what was the rock that smashes the whole statue up? It was Jesus and the second coming. Okay, and there we see that that we are in the time. Where are we in time? At the feet. We're at the time of church and state. And as we go through the next few sessions, we're going to start homing in on the feet and what's happening during the feet. And everyone's heard of this term, the New World Order, yes? We're going to be looking at the New World Order, which we find in the feet. But tonight, we're going to look at the mark of the beast issue. Okay? So we're not going to actually talk about the mark of the beast tonight. We're going to talk about the mark of the beast issue. So we're going to give you some more clues what the mark of the beast is, so that when we look at the mark of the beast next week, it will all make sense to you, hopefully. I want to show you this video clip, okay? We see a car, and this car is being chased by a lorry. Has anyone ever been chased, by the way? Followed by another car? It's a bit scary, isn't it? So especially as a lone woman, and she's trying to escape this truck. She thinks her life's in danger. When you think your life was in danger, if you had this truck behind you, and you're all by yourself as well. She's getting very worried now. What can she do? It's funny how they keep changing the gears, isn't it? It doesn't do anything, does it? But I always wonder that in the films. They always change the gears, but when I'm driving, I'm always in my 5th gear, speeding. But still, now she's getting worried. She can't go much faster. She can't brake. So she thinks, let's turn off. But see what happened there? The guy in the truck was trying to warn her. She really was in danger, but it wasn't from the truck driver. There was a guy hiding behind her, and he was going to do something nasty to her. But somehow this truck driver, when he was driving around, he saw this man in the back seat and was trying to warn this woman. And what I guess I want to emphasize to you this evening is that we are heading in a crisis, and we are in danger. And we don't realize the danger that we're in. And there are people around trying to warn you that you're in danger, and you're thinking, I'm going to run away from these people. Because actually, they're the ones that are causing me to be in danger, but they're not. So I just want you to bear these things in mind as we share things. Some of the things we may share over the next few days might be a little bit scary, but it's not because I want to put you in danger, but I want you to be awake to the danger that you and I are in, the times we're living in. So, we're going to look at the mark of the beast issue. How many of you have ever seen this 666 on the forehead? Yeah? There was a film came out just a couple of years back called The Omen, which was a remake of one that was almost 20 years ago, The Omen. 30 years ago, in fact. I remember when I was 9, I'm 39, when I was 9, I remember watching The Omen. And I remember he was looking in the mirror and he had 666 on his forehead.
That's right.
And I remember I looked in the mirror to see if I had 666 on the forehead. I thought, well, what if I'm the Antichrist? What if I've got 666? I was looking in the mirror. And I asked my cousin, would you just check my head, make sure there's 666 there? And it scared the living daylights out of me. But you know, it always stuck in my mind that, what are these passages in the books of Daniel and Revelation? What is this 666? But we have this perception that the mark of the beast is 666 on the forehead. Okay, some people think this mark of the beast thing is some kind of chip. Have you heard of this chip thing? They're going to put a chip in your right hand. And this chip in your right hand's got all your bank details, all your information. So all you do, you just swipe your hand and there's everything about you. And they use it in some cases to track prisoners and convicts and things like that. But I can tell you that this is not the mark of the beast. Alright? Why? I can tell you this. Remember we said that there's a group of people called the 144,000. Where do they have the Father's name? On their forehead. So are we saying they have a little chip in their forehead with God's name on it? I don't think so. So just bear that in mind, okay, that this mark of the beast chip thing, okay, is nothing to do with the chip. Revelation 14:9. Then a third angel followed them, saying with a what kind of voice? A loud voice. If anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand. Okay, so you can either get a mark on your forehead or on your hand. And what's the thing that stands out in this text? What's the issue here? If anyone does what? Worships. Okay, so I want you to just to plant in your mind that this whole mark of the beast issue is revolving around worship. Okay, it's not about a chip in your hand, it's not about a chip in your forehead, it's about worship. Okay, so if anyone worships the beast and his image and receives his mark on his forehead or in his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into cup of his indignation. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were heading for the mark of the beast, is that something you want to be heading towards? No. Would you like to know what the mark of the beast is? So that you can avoid this indignation that God is going to pour out. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone, and we looked at brimstone the other night, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascends forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Now, if you remember also, Sodom and Gomorrah was an example of eternal fire, and we looked at Sodom and Gomorrah. Was it on fire? So when it talks about this eternal burning, it's not talking about an eternal, it's not literally talking about an eternal burning. Okay, I just want you to realize that. But in the same chapter, Revelation 14:12 says, here is the patience of the saints. These are the people, okay, that escape the mark of the beast. And what are the characteristics? Here are they that what? Keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. And on 2 nights when we went to Mount Sinai, what was delivered at Mount Sinai? The 10 Commandments. Okay, and then on Friday night we looked at the sanctuary. What did we discover about the Ark of the Covenant? It contains what? The 10 Commandments. And where did we actually find the 10 Commandments? The Ark of the Covenant. Where did we find it? In the mercy seat. But where did we actually find it? You know, everyone's looking for the Ark of the Covenant, but where did we say the Ark of the Covenant is, where we should be looking? In heaven. In Revelation chapter 11:19. Therefore we concluded that if the Ark of the Covenant is in heaven, where we saw the testimonies of the stone, therefore the law, the 10 Commandments, cannot be changed. So we know then that those that escape the mark of the beast keep all of the 10 Commandments and have the faith of Jesus. So now we have some more clues about this worship. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God. And if you can't play music, when you get to heaven, you're going to learn. We're all going to have a golden harp. And I looked, this is Revelation 14, verse 1 and 5. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God. So now you have two classes of people. You have a group that do not receive the mark of the beast, and they have the Father's name written on their forehead. Okay? And then you have another group of people who receive the mark of the beast, but they either receive it on their forehead or they receive it on their hands. So you've got two groups of people. Okay? Revelation 13:16 through to 18. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So that's everyone. Some more richer and some more poorer, and some more smaller and some more greater. But that includes every one of us. So, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their heads or foreheads. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count. What does it mean to count? Add up. To count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, if you read the words very carefully, okay, 666, the mark of the beast, isn't 666 written on your forehead, okay? Because what does it say? It says that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So it's saying that the mark of the beast is different to the number of the beast. So the mark of the beast isn't a tattoo 666 on your forehead or a tattoo on your head like it portrays in Hollywood. And then it says, here is wisdom. Anyone need wisdom? Okay, yesterday we mentioned the Daniel diet. Okay, and Daniel was found 10 times wiser. So talk to me afterwards if you're interested in the Daniel diet. But here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay, so what is then the mark of the beast? Does the Bible say the mark of the beast is 666? It doesn't, does it? By the way, I found this. Have you ever seen this? Imagine this is your telephone number, 666. Someone ringing up 666. And by the way, you get some strange ideas. There are groups of people that will tell you that the police is 666 because it's 999 turned upside down. All right. This is just all fanciful ideas, fairy tales. Okay. Let's just see what the Bible's got to say. He causes all to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Therefore, the mark of the beast is not 666. But what is 666? It's the number of his name. Now, I don't think we're going to have a whole heap of time in this series, okay, to go through exactly the 666 link and all the relationship to it. But if anyone's interested, I've got a DVD here called Revelation 17. Okay, I got 5 hours of 666 symbolism, and I go through linking what 666 is, all the symbols, all the signs, and I'm making this available for the whole grand total of £2. Okay, it's 2 DVDs for £2 because I want you to know the information. So the mark of the beast is not 666, and the mark is not the same as the number of his name. and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, let's see, when was it? I think it was in the year 2000 or 2001. Okay, I think it was probably 2001. There was a petrol strike. Anyone remember the petrol strike? Okay, and there was chaos. People would go to the petrol station and they couldn't buy petrol, and people were fighting. People couldn't get to the stores. Okay, so people started hoarding up food, and I think it was just for 3 days, and the whole country came to a standstill. And I tell you, when you start touching someone's belly, right, the fists start coming out. It's true. So there's going to be something, all right, that's going to hit you when this beast starts coming into play, and they try and force this mark of the beast on it. They're going to blackmail you. They're going to say, we're not going to let you buy and sell unless you receive this mark. Okay? And that's when it's really going to be a test. Are you really on God's side, or are you on the beast side? Who are you really worshipping? Where do you want your food to come from? Because I tell you, you're going to be mighty hungry, and you're going to say, Lord, where's my food? And you're going to be very tempted to receive this mark of the beast for some food. But you know what the reward is for those that get the mark of the beast? It's going to be the 7 last plagues. So temporarily, it looks like they're doing well, but they will get the 7 last plagues. Anyway. So 3 items to think about then. We have the mark, we have the name of the beast, and we have the number of his name. And they are 3 separate things. So first clue to the mark then. The mark is not 666. What does a beast symbolize in Bible prophecy? Those great beasts which are 4 kings which arise out of the earth. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be what? The 4th kingdom on earth. Now, we always portray countries by animals. Like America, for instance, is always symbolized by an eagle. Does anyone know what this one is? It's Canada. The beaver. What about this one? The lion. We always think of England as the lion. We have, remember Richard the Lionheart? Do anyone know what the animal for France is, by the way? Rooster. Yeah. So, second clue to the mark. The beast is a powerful kingdom. Okay? Why do I say that for? 2 reasons. When we start going through more of the books of Daniel and Revelation, we find that these beasts that come into play are ferocious. We have lions, we have bears. Okay? They are ferocious animals. Then we find in Revelation 13 that this beast has power, right? Has power to stop you from buying and selling. It has power to kill you. Therefore, to have that kind of power, it must be a powerful kingdom. So now we've established that the beast is a powerful kingdom. Notice the 6 details the Bible gives for the mark of the beast. Revelation 13, 1 and 11. There are 2 beasts in Revelation 13. And I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon. So we have 2 beasts. We have a lamb-like beast makes an image to the first beast. So you have a beast, then you have another beast that makes an image to the first beast. Okay, can you see that? Telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword that lived. Now where else did we see an image in the Bible? Daniel chapter 2. Yeah, we saw an image, didn't we? Okay, so now we see some object lessons here. We have an image in Daniel chapter 2. Now in Revelation 13, it talks about a second beast making an image of the first beast. So this lamb-like beast commands what kind of worship? image worship. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image. So those who refuse to worship are what? Threatened with death. So what's the key issue here? Worship. So this beast is going to command you to worship how it dictates to you. And if you don't go along with it, you're going to be put to death. Cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. So sometime in the future, you're going to be threatened with death if you don't go along with this system. This is a worldwide event, so all of us are to be included. Revelation 13 makes it very clear, it's all that dwell on the earth. If they do not receive the mark of the beast in their forehead or in their hand, they will be put to death and cannot buy and sell. So that means whether we like it or not, whether we bury our heads in the sand, we are all going to be involved in this event. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their foreheads. So, the number 666 is connected to this false worship. Okay, because it says the mark of the beast, then it says the name, and then the number of the name. Okay, so here we have 6 clues. There are 2 beasts in Revelation 13. The lamb-like beast makes an image to the first beast. The lamb-like beast commands image worship. What does the 10 commandments tell us? That ye shall not have no other gods before me. Those who refuse to worship are threatened with death. And this is a worldwide event. And the number 666 is connected to this false worship. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast. Calculate means you use a calculator or use mathematics. For it is the number of what? A man. When was Adam created? What day of the week? 6. Remember we said that 6 represent man. It is the number of man, 6. And his number is 666. So we have a 666. Now, what other Bible story shows forced image worship? Now, in Daniel chapter 2, we see an image. The gold part, the gold was the head, which represented Babylon. But then Daniel said to him that after you shall come another kingdom. Now, in Daniel chapter 3, we have another image. But this image is all gold. Nebuchadnezzar had this idea that by making the whole image gold, he's saying my kingdom is going to last forever. No kingdom is going to supersede my kingdom. So let's look at the story. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. What number have we got here? 6. To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and language. So what do we see here? Everyone. Yeah? This is, and there's a command. So to you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, you shall fall down and do what? Worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and what? Worship shall be what? Cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. In other words, if you don't worship this image, I'm going to execute you. Does that sound familiar? We've been reading about that, haven't we, in Revelation 13? Of the 404 verses of Revelation, 276 of them contain quotations from the Old Testament. The day came, the king and all his important men gathered to see the people worship the golden image on the plain of Dura. And when you hear the music play, so this is interesting. Music, okay, is the signal when to worship. And today, music in regards to worship is a very controversial subject, because Satan knows how to counterfeit true worship. So he uses worship. He uses music to counterfeit true worship. So when you hear the music play, he told the people, then you must bow down and worship my image, or you'll be thrown into the burning fiery furnace. And here, this is interesting as well. If you're going to build a big image, do you think you can do that quietly? No. Many people could see that something was going on in the plain of Dura. They could see that there was a lot of construction people, there was a lot of gold being used, and this image was being built. And the same principle applies today. When we see the events taking place in Revelation 13, it is not being done quietly or secretly. We are just not seeing it. This image is being built. It was built in the open plain, and many people saw it. And today there is an image of the beast being formed, and we are just so blinded we cannot see it. Notice how the 6 details in this story parallel Revelation 13. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. So we see this 6 connection. And we find that everything revolving around the worship and religion of Babylon was revolving around 6. So Nebuchadnezzar is king of the powerful Babylonian kingdom. So in Revelation 13 we have a powerful kingdom. In Daniel chapter 3 we have a powerful kingdom, Babylon. Then he makes an image. Exactly the same in Revelation 13. There is an image to the beast. To you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, you shall fall down and worship the golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. So, image worship is commanded. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So, those who refuse to worship are threatened with death. There was a death decree. And Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, or the princes, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar has set up. So this is everyone. This is a worldwide event. All the leaders are here. So this command is for all peoples, nations, and languages. And Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. And so the 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide image is false worship. So we see this 666 connection. What metal does Nebuchadnezzar use to make the image? Gold. Basically saying that his kingdom is going to last forever. But remember in Daniel 2 we had Babylon, we had Medo-Persia, we had Greece, Rome, and then we had divided Rome, which we said was church-state relationship. And if you can remember yesterday, we went through all the characteristics of Babylon, went through all the characteristics of Medo-Persia, went through all the characteristics of Greece and Rome and divided Rome, and we described what's going to happen in the last days. Remember? We said there's going to be idol worship. It will be decreed as a law, remember? And it will be based on humanistic ideas. And those that don't obey will be killed. And it's all going to be related to a church-state relationship. Okay, third clue then to the mark. The Daniel 3 altered image. Why was it an altered image? Because the true image was in Daniel 2. So we see that in Daniel 3 the altered image is a counterfeit of the true image of Daniel 2. Can you see that, everyone? Yeah. Therefore we know that this image of the beast, this image that we're going to be commanded to worship in Revelation 13, is going to be a counterfeit. If it's a counterfeit, what's it a counterfeit of what? That's what we need to find out. In December 594 BC, a serious mutiny erupts in the Babylonian army. So they believe this is why Nebuchadnezzar did this thing, because he wanted to bring his nation back together again. Okay, and by doing this, he would have like an ecumenical meeting, if I can put it that way, and they're all going to worship together to this image. And Nebuchadnezzar slew many of his own army because of this revolt. What size does the king make his golden image? 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. So the fourth clue to the mark then. This counterfeit worship is based on ancient pagan worship revolving around 666. And by the way, the Babylonians, they used to have little magic charms. And they used to have these little numbers here. See all these numbers? Okay. If you add these numbers up along this way, it adds up to 111. If you add up the numbers this way, it adds up to 111. In fact, every single row adds up to 111. What's 111 times 6? 6, 6, 6. Same goes downwards. You add up all the numbers downwards, it's 111. 111. What's 6 times 111? 666. So they go around with these little charms, okay, and it will give them good luck, added up to 666. And if you add up the numbers 1 to 36, do you know what it adds up to? 666. The Babylonian priests honored the solar square, okay, which all revolved around 666. 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way to 36 gives you 666. And the Babylonian gave us 360 degrees. 12 hours in a day. The first mention of an hour in scriptures in Daniel 3. Hours are probably from Babylon. And what do we find in an hour? 60 minutes. 6. How do we divide 360 degrees? 6. And see, this mystical number 1 to 36 is 666. And this is the God that they worship. The mystery God. Interesting as well, there were 6 instruments outlined in Daniel chapter 3. The image was 60 by 6 cubits. 3 lists of 6 instruments found in verse 5, 10 and 15. And guess what? In Daniel chapter 5 verse 4, we get the mention of 6 gods. Everything revolves around 6. The term Babylon occurs 6 times. Babylon is called a woman. Guess how many times? 6 times. The Babylonian woman has 6 types of attire. And 6 items of Babylon will be no more at all. We find that in Revelation 18. And the number of the beast is 666. And here we find the snake, the serpent, Satan, that we talked about in the Garden of Eden. And guess what? They used to describe this snake as 666. How do I know that? Because in many of the pagan articles of ornaments, you will see snakes making up 6. Who bowed to the image when the king gave the command? So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, in sympathy with all kinds of music, okay, all the people, nations and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image. How many worship? All. So the 5th clue then to the mark is the mark commands all the world to follow false worship. But you know what? All did not bow down to the worship. There was 3 that refused to bow. You ever been in that kind of situation where there's pressure on you to bow? I used to be a Sikh, and when we go to the temple, we would have to bow down to the holy book. And during the ceremony, everyone would bow down to the holy book. And every so often, I go to the temple because we have a family occasion or something, and I get forced to go. I'll stand at the back. But let me tell you, come prayer time, everyone bows down except me and my brother. And I tell you, there is a pressure behind my knees to just bow and conform. There's a pressure. And there's a pressure to conform to everyone else around you. 3 didn't bow out of all those people. And interestingly as well, the 3 that didn't bow, they were 3 Hebrews. But the other interesting thing was that amongst all those nations and peoples, there were other Hebrews. But only 3 Hebrews refused to bow. Which means that all the other Hebrews did what? They compromised. Which tells us then that in this last day scenario, there are going to be many professed believers of God that will compromise. Can you see that? See, some of these Hebrews might have been bowing, thinking, God, you know that my heart's really with you, but I'm going to bow to save my skin, but I'm really worshipping you, God. What are they doing? They're cooperating, aren't they? It's interesting, we normally say, when we cooperate, we give them our right hand of cooperation. Yeah? They cooperated while in their minds, they were thinking, I'm with you, God. So 3 refused, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Where was Daniel? Maybe Nebuchadnezzar knew that this man would not bow. So maybe Nebuchadnezzar just asked him just to be somewhere else. Why did the 3 Hebrews not bow to the image? But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. You shall not make for yourselves a carved image, you shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. This is in the 10 commandments, which are placed in the heavenly sanctuary in heaven for everyone to view. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. See, the true follower of God will refuse idol worship. And so, King Nebuchadnezzar, do you think he was happy? He was not happy at all. And by the way, guess who reported on the 3 Hebrews? There were spies in there. There were people who were jealous of these 3 Hebrews. And they told the king that these 3 didn't bow. So just to let you know, there are people out there that are quite happy to report on you. It's called gossip. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Alright, so now we see something. We see moral law, okay, which is God's law, versus civil law. We have the breaking of moral law is sin. We have the breaking of civil law is crime. And there's nothing wrong with civil laws. Moral law has one punishment, which is death, because it says that sin, okay, is the breaking of the commandments, and the penalty of sin is death. Whereas civil law has many punishments depending on what you've broken. In the moral law, sin cannot be atoned for by works. Whatever you do, you cannot atone for your sins. Only the blood of Jesus can do that. But in civil law, crime can be atoned for by works, by community service, or paying a fine, or going to jail. And the moral law, sin is defined by God, and the civil law, crime is defined by man. Remember there's 10 commandments. The first 4 is relating us to God, and the next 6 is us to our fellow humans. The only thing the civil law can direct is our relationship with other humans. That's all they have authority to do. So whenever a civil law conflicts with the law of God, God's law has to take precedence. But if a civil law does not conflict with God's law, then you are duty bound to keep the civil law. Like the speed limits. You are duty bound to keep the speed limit. Do you know that? So if it's 30 miles an hour, you should drive 30 miles an hour. Someone once told me this, right? They said, we all have a guardian angel. But as soon as you start speeding, you've left your guardian angel behind. Sixth clue to the mark. This counterfeit worship will contradict whose law? God's law. In Acts 5:29, but Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than man. Now, we find that this law is motivated by pleasure on the one hand and pain on the other. So, there was all this happy clappy music, they're having a good time, but if you don't comply, there's a death decree. So this was not a civil law, but a religious law enforced by a civil state. So really what you see? You're seeing a church-state combination here. You're seeing a civil state enforcing a religious law. And there you can see the 6 instruments. You see the cornet, the flute, the harp, sackbut, psaltery and dulcimer. 6 instruments. How does the king attempt to coerce God's loyal men? And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. But in this process, as the soldiers threw them into the fire, you can come in. As the soldiers threw them into the fire, the soldiers themselves died. It was so hot. In Revelation chapter 13:15, as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So if you don't worship this image or this beast, you are going to be killed. But don't forget, we do have a guardian angel. This chapter is a type of the end time crisis over the beast and the image of the beast. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, and the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. The Babylonian king, a powerful world leader, established a counterfeit image and compelled worship contrary to God's command. So the 7th clue then to the mark. While many compromise true worship, a faithful few are loyal to God. Would you like to be one of those faithful few? I do. Question then. Does God allow his faithful followers to die in the furnace? Nebuchadnezzar says this, I see 4 men loose walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like what? The Son of God. Who's the Son of God? Jesus. We see Jesus in the book of Daniel. Did you ever see that before? Jesus is in the fire with those 3, and it's interesting that when they come out of the fire, they don't even smell of fire. So there we see Jesus in the fiery furnace. Which tells me another thing, that when we go through a fiery furnace, whether we die or not, whether we are martyred or not, Jesus is with us. 8th clue then to the mark. God delivers his people from the fiery trial. Or at least God will deliver a certain number of people. Because he tells us there's a number, 144,000, that will not get the mark of the beast. And somewhere along the line there may be some martyrs, there may be some deaths, just like it was in the past. But God promises to be by our side. Just another thought, by the way, we may be a bit scared about this kind of thing, but the Emperor Nero, he would throw the Christians to the lions. And he wanted to strike terror to the Christians. And after he killed all the Christians in the lions, he went down to the great place. What's it called? Remind me. The Colosseum. He went down to the Colosseum, right? And guess what? When he looked at the faces of the dead Christians, you know what happened? They had smiles on their faces. Imagine that. You've been eaten by a lion and you got a smile on your face. And he was so furious because he wanted to bring terror, and the more he killed the Christians, their blood was like seed. So even if you get killed, you're going to die with a smile on your face. And there he saw Jesus in the midst in that fire. So, ninth clue then. God's end time people have a special, unique relationship to Jesus. And what is this special, unique relationship? They have the Father's name written where? In their forehead. Now, did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego have a little name of, the Father on their forehead? Do you think people are going to walk around in the last days with little tattoos on their head with Jehovah or Father or Jesus? No. So what is he talking about then? To have the Father's name in the forehead. It's talking about our allegiance. What's in here in our forehead? Our brain. This is where we think, use our intelligence. So to have the Father's name in our forehead means that we've got the Father's name in our brains, which means that every fiber of us worships God. Therefore, the mark of the beast in the forehead or in the hand is talking about in the brain. It's talking about where is your allegiance. And I'll give you another clue. That in your brain is when you agree to something. Okay? It's like there were many that bow down to the image saying, we believe that this is God. And you had some Hebrews saying, we don't believe that this is God. However, we're going to comply. Yeah, can you see that? And likewise, in the same scenario, in our time, we're going to have the same situation where you have a mark of the beast in your forehead where you agree to go along with this thing because you believe in it. Or with your right hand that you cooperate. Even though you may not believe it, you cooperate. Therefore, you have the mark in your hand. It's basically saying that you're agreeing with the system with your actions. So there's another clue for you. But take note of this. End time people will have a special, unique relationship with Jesus. They will have his name in their foreheads. Why might God have allowed all this to happen? Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him." This was a test, not only for the people of God, and they all failed except 3, and also it was a witness to Nebuchadnezzar, who finally acknowledges the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What did God do for his faithful servants? Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. They became promoted as part of the royal government. And likewise, God promises us that we will reign with him in his kingdom. So we will be promoted. We may be poor, we may be rich, we may be free, we may be a slave, but in God's kingdom we are all going to be wealthy, rich. In fact, it's so rich, that place, that gold is the pavement. So the 10th clue to the mark then, God promotes his people who are loyal to him. So, let's summarize then. The mark is not 666. We have a powerful end time kingdoms lead the world to establish the mark. The mark is connected to a worship of a symbolic image that counterfeits God's truth. The counterfeit worship is based upon ancient pagan worship, and all the world is commanded to follow this false worship. This counterfeit worship contradicts God's law, and while many compromise, a faithful few stand loyally to God. And then God delivers his people out of the final persecution, and they are not hurt. And God's end time people have a special, unique relationship to Jesus. And God promotes his people who are loyal to him by taking them to heaven to reign as kings and princes with him. Now we see some literal connections to Babylon and some spiritual connections. We have literal Babylon, spiritual Babylon. We have Great Babylon, Great Babylon. Dominated the world, and spiritual Babylon will dominate the world. Connected to 6, and we find it's connected to 6. Its fall was predicted, and spiritual Babylon, its fall is predicted. It erects a literal image, and likewise a spiritual image is erected by modern Babylon. Both compelled worship. We have literal Jews compared to spiritual Jews, called before the ruler, and in Revelation 13 will be called before the rulers. It was wrath against the literal Jews, there will be wrath against spiritual Jews. And both have a death decree. And both have a fiery trial. And both were delivered by the Son of God. And both concerned a state-enforced worship law. So we see a complete parallel with literal Babylon to spiritual Babylon with Daniel chapter 3 and Revelation chapter 13. It's all there. And the question for us then is, do we want to be on his side? By God's grace, is it your desire, my desire, to be faithful to Jesus? That's something that all of us, each and every one of us, have to ask in our own hearts. Ponder it while we listen to the song.